This is going to be a doozy, y'all. The third and final OC candidate for today's episode. Let me start by saying this. In no way is this a way to advocate for this guy to become the next offensive coordinator at Baylor. But we're talking about Texas guys who used to be head coaches, who run innovative offenses, who know how to recruit. There is nobody in the country that fits those criteria better than Arthur Ray Briles. Let that sink in for a minute. I thought about Art this week because you'll see Bobby Petrino is back as the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. A guy who put a big scandal at that school and at that program is now not only back in major college coaching, but is coaching at that university. And they're doing cartwheels, man. They're throwing parades. They love having him back. The Art Briles situation at Baylor is not the same as the Bobby Petrino one at Arkansas. I don't want to compare controversies, but yes, Art's is worse. But that said, not only do we have the Bobby Petrino example, which is live and in front of us, but TCU hired a new offensive coordinator last year, Kendall Briles. Mississippi State, they just hired a head coach, fella by the name of Jeff Lebby. Art does not have clean hands in this scandal, no matter what you think about it. That said, the things that Kendall and Jeff Lebby were doing were the actual boots on the ground, sweeping it under the rug. What they did was way worse. And I think to some extent, Art had to fall on the sword for his family, his son and his son-in-law. And yet those guys can get high-profile jobs. One of them is a head coach in the SEC. After, really paying his dues as the OC at Oklahoma and then the OC at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin. God, what a tough life. So I've always been surprised that Art didn't get a job. I wouldn't give him a job, sure. And I don't think he should necessarily. But this is college football, college athletics in general. There's a statute of limitations on reputations in college athletics. That's just the way it is, guys. Bobby Petrino has a good job. Jeff Lebby has a head coaching job. Rick Pitino has a hell of a coaching job. It heals all wounds for some reason, for good, bad, or otherwise. It heals all wounds. And so you're thinking, well, Cam, even if this ridiculous situation plays out and Baylor offers Art Briles the OC job, why would he even say yes? You know why? You know why he would say yes? Because it's the ultimate middle finger. The ultimate middle finger to Baylor would be for him to come back and to succeed. And just his presence, just him being there, is the ultimate middle finger to the people that knocked him out the door, the Board of Regents. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but in his mind, yeah, that is so much better than being the head coach at TCU and pummeling Baylor into submission. This is better in terms of a get back FU. It's the perfect FU situation. And what it would show from a Baylor athletics standpoint, again, for better or for worse, I would think for worse, is that we are going to win football games at all costs. Baylor is a program that should be winning football games at most costs, at a lot of costs. But bringing in Art Briles would be an at all costs kind of winning situation. So, is this even a reasonable possibility? No. No. I don't think Baylor should do it. But it keeps coming back into my mind, seeing Bobby Petrino posting about being back at Arkansas. He's going to get a job at some point. I think this is the winter of now or never for Art Briles, because it's going to be so easy for a program to, because you remember, I mean, he's got hired a couple of times and fired within a day or two because there's been so much backlash. This is the year that a program can point to, yeah, but did you look what happened most recently? It went to a court of law a few months ago and he was found not guilty. That's not even nearly the context, obviously. That's pretty inconsequential, actually, that one case, with an eye towards his whole reputation. It's pretty inconsequential. But that's what the program will say. And I think Art Briles will be a college football coach next year. Not a head coach, but he is, again, still one of the most innovative offensive minds ever, really. And he's always been able to adapt. I don't think Kendall's adapted really well. I think Jeff Lebby has, to be fair. I think he's adapted pretty well with that offense. Kendall's has run dry. Art's adapted over the years. And I don't need to go over, the guys he's coached or the guys he's coached alongside. You know that. You know his resume. I talk about some of these other guys and who they coached under. That's not the case with Art. It's about who coached under him. He is the guy. He is the top of the coaching tree. And took Baylor to unforeseen heights, the likes of which we are still comparing every team to as fans. He is the sole reason why Baylor is still a good football job, because he showed that you can come in here and you can win. He's the best football coach ever to coach at Baylor. It'd take nothing away from that. But what he did to drag this university through the mud, in my mind, is unacceptable. And by that, it means you don't just hire him back. But I'll tell you, if that day comes, it will be the most positive feedback I've ever gotten on this show, bar none. This might be right here when I'm talking about him right now. So let me know what you think. Is there any world where hell freezes over and Baylor even offers Briles the job? Make a lot of people pissed off, make a lot of people happy. Let me know what you think. Who's going to be Baylor's next OC? I still don't know. I think tomorrow we're going to do a little bit more OC, but also looking at quarterback, because as I mentioned earlier, it is a position that Baylor has to look at. Thank you again for making this your first listen today and every day. And I so appreciate you guys following along. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Like, subscribe, put a comment down in there. It helps all the time. We'll be back tomorrow with more football talk on how Dave Aranda is going to save this program if it's the last thing he does in college coaching, because it might be, at least for some time. This is Locked On Baylor.